Good afternoon, everyone. I'm pleased to be here with Governor Murphy, with Congressman Malinowski, who is a fierce advocate for the people of the 7th District, to Senate President Steve Sweeney and Speaker Coughlin and all of the distinguished local, county, and state public officials who have joined us. And I want to thank Jeremy as well and his family for hosting us here at Flounder Brewing and for doing everything you did to keep your employees working during this difficult period of time. It's a testament to your philosophy beyond good brewing, being a good company. So we salute you. 2020 has been a great year of peril for our state and our country. Here in New Jersey, we have lost 16,000 of our own to COVID-19, a staggering number if you think about it. Moms and dads, brothers and sisters, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and friends gone forever. The United States has suffered more deaths than virtually any other advanced nation, and more than 7 million Americans have contracted the virus. And when the American people could not look to President Trump for leadership, they looked to governors like Phil Murphy, who were willing to speak the truth, listen to science, and make tough decisions that save lives. So, Governor, once again, let me thank you for your leadership, and the Lieutenant Governor. It was tough, but it saved lives in New Jersey. Thank you very much for what you did. I want to also recognize my colleague, Congressman Malinowski. He has been a true fighter for hard-hit states like ours that need relief from the economic fallout of the pandemic. And Tom is, as I said, a fierce advocate in the Democratic caucus, in the House of Representatives, to stand up for these critical elements. Sometimes people say, well, why don't you guys just agree on something? Well, something doesn't solve the problem. We need the type of comprehensive effort that gives us the resources to continue to do the testing and the contact tracing. We can only return our economies to a near normal when we can convince New Jerseyans that their trip to the store, the mall, the brewery, or anywhere else has been largely contained in terms of the risk of the virus. So this is an essential part of what we have to continue to fund. We need to help the states and municipalities, I'll talk about that in a moment, and counties at the end of the day who have suffered great loss as a result of the tough decisions and the revenues that were lost. We need to make sure that we have the resources to keep our police and firefighters and emergency management and public health nurses. The very universe that's essential to us in the midst of the pandemic are the ones that are at risk if we do not help them. So that's why when Tom has stood up and said, no, this is not good enough, it's because we need to get it right in order to change the course of events. And I want to thank Senate President Sweeney and Speaker Coughlin for working side by side with the governor to help make these federal coronavirus relief dollars accessible to the people most in need. I appreciate their leadership. And I know that my colleague, Senator Cory Booker, would have liked to have been here today, but he is in Washington as a member of the Senate Judiciary Committee asking tough questions of the Supreme Court nominee. And I'm sure Senator Booker will make us proud during those Judiciary Committee hearings. But I know he would, as I would, rather have the Senate working to pass another coronavirus relief package. Indeed, the President has made it clear that stacking the Supreme Court to overturn the Affordable Care Act, and I say this because the President has been very clear. I take the President at his word when he says something. He's pretty transparent in that respect. He said, I am going to nominate someone to the Supreme Court who ultimately will strike down the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act that gave millions of Americans, millions of New Jerseyans, hundreds of millions who have a pre-existing condition protection, women with special health needs taken care of under the Affordable Care Act, being able to keep your child to the age of 26 under the Affordable Care Act, being able to make sure that there is no more lifetime cap on your insurance. So if you had a major illness, you were one illness away from bankruptcy. All of that was protected by the Affordable Care Act, which I helped write. That is sitting before the Supreme Court. The President made it very clear. I will nominate someone who will hold the view to strike it down. I will nominate someone who will strike down Roe versus Wade. I take him at his word. But instead of pushing a late-term nominee for the Supreme Court, we should be pushing through a new relief package that is comprehensive. That's why millions of renters in our state and in our country are waiting to see. It's why many people who own a home and can't make their mortgage payment are waiting to see. It's why many businesses are waiting to see. And that's why I want to commend our state leaders for working together to get the federal coronavirus relief dollars that we passed into the hands of those who need it the most. The $100 million fund announced today by the governor and the lieutenant governor and our legislative leaders comes from money that in Congress was included in the CARES Act to help combat the economic fallout of this pandemic. As the governor laid out, federal money will help struggling New Jersey small businesses stay open, especially restaurants, eateries, and bars currently on the brink of closing forever. And there's assistance for some of the smallest businesses across our state. These grants and loans can help them pay employees and help them meet their rent, pay the mortgage, and stay afloat in tough times. In addition, these resources will expand access to personal protective equipment. That's important because we want employers and workers to be able to stay safe on the job. And I'm glad that $20 million of this $100 million pot will go to rental and food assistance for those who need it the most. I can't tell you how many times I've now met a New Jerseyan who for the first time in their entire life, who've worked hard, played by the rules, are online at a food pantry to get food assistance. Shouldn't be. And I'm proud of the billions in aid that we have already delivered to New Jersey by the CARES Act, but we need to do so much more. This bill was never supposed to be our last legislative response to the worst pandemic in 100 years. Consider our restaurant and food service industry. One of the great things about New Jersey is the cuisine from any culture in the world is just around the corner. Many have tried to make do with outdoor dining and delivery, but nationwide, some 100,000 restaurants have already closed, many more on the verge of going under. That's why I've sponsored the Restaurants Act in the Senate. It would provide $120 billion in structured grant relief to these entities to stay afloat. And we also need to help hard-hit states recover from the 1-2 punch of soaring coronavirus response costs and plummeting state and local taxes. That's why I wrote the bipartisan SMART Act, which would deliver $500 billion in aid to state and local governments in their hour of need, targeted to communities that suffered the highest COVID-19 infection rates and lost revenues due to the economic fallout. This work brought together Republicans and Democrats alike. My colleague, the Republican senator from Louisiana, joined me in it. The Republican senator from Mississippi joined me in it. The Republican senator from Maine joined me in it. This is not a red or blue question. This is a red, white, and blue question. We are in this as a nation together. And I appreciate very much that these ideas were incorporated into the HEROES Act, which Congressman Malinowski helped write and pass in the House, along with a whole host of measures to help jobless workers, hungry families, renters, and homeowners on the verge of eviction and foreclosure, and so much more. Now, last week, Speaker Pelosi and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin were making real progress on a compromise bill. That was before, of course, President Trump abruptly halted those talks, and Mitch McConnell announced there would be no action until after the election. To me, that's pretty outrageous. We cannot have no action till after the election, and there is no reason to have no action until after the election. The Senate will go back into session next week. If we can take the time to consider a Supreme Court justice, literally a couple of weeks before an election. We can take the time to pass a relief package that will help millions of Americans across the country. As I said from the outset way back in February, it's going to take a coordinated federal, state, and local response to defeat COVID-19. And I can tell you that Congressman Malinowski and I won't stop fighting for New Jersey and for the nation. When we pass this crisis, and we will pass it, I think about it. Sometimes we dwell upon the challenges we have. But I think about, in my time in Congress, I've seen some incredible moments. I was at the Capitol on September 11th when that fateful plane was headed there, and proud and courageous citizens knocked it down in Pennsylvania. I was there when the chairman of the Federal Reserve said we had to act emergently to stop what would have been a global depression during the Great Recession as a member of the Senate Banking Committee. And I was here in New Jersey when we went through Superstorm Sandy, the worst natural disaster our state hit. And while each and every one of those moments were rather dark, the day after brought light. We created a homeland security and intelligence operation that has stopped any attack upon our nation. We built back stronger under our financial system so that systemic risk isn't the responsibility of all of us individually. And we built back stronger than the storm, and we are more resilient today than we were in terms of any natural disaster. So I see a rising sun for our state and our nation, not a setting sun. But because we have to learn from the past, we've learned from the experiences that have taken place in our life, and that's why I've written bipartisan legislation to create an independent 9/11 style commission that will review what went wrong, what went well, and determine how to better respond to future public health emergencies. Congressman Malinowski has joined me in that effort as a sponsor in the House. We're lucky to have great partners in Governor Murphy, Senate President Sweeney, Speaker Coughlin, who are doing everything they can with the limited monies they have to get into the hands of struggling New Jersey businesses. This crisis is far from over, but we New Jerseyans are tough and resilient. We don't back down from any fight, and whatever knocks us down only makes us stronger. And that's what we'll be after this period of time. Thank you very much.